Imagine, for like just a second, standing in this dimly lit, dramatically art-directed arena, right? You are looking directly into the eyes of a person who has literally spent the last month whispering sweet nothings into your ear.
Oh, the absolute horror.
Right. And you're realizing in real time that they are doing the actual mental math of exactly how much your heartbreak is worth in rupees. Like, they are calculating the exchange rate of your tears.
Yep, liquidating the asset right to your face.
It is sick. There is this very specific, soul-crushing type of emotional exhaustion that only comes from surviving a reality TV betrayal of that magnitude, especially while nursing a crippling, completely debilitating red sangria hangover. It is a profound cellular level fatigue, you know?
I mean, it genuinely is a psychological burden that we just carry for the public good at this point.
We do. It's processing the sheer, unfiltered audacity of a human being trading their supposed soulmate for a guaranteed spot in a finale. And you have to somehow digest that level of psychological warfare before your morning coffee. But anyway, welcome back, babes. If you are new here, hi, hello. And babes, if you are a returning snarker, babes, we freaking love you.
We truly, truly do, because the things we witness on screen together, I swear they actively alter your brain chemistry.
They absolutely do. And, you know, to cope with that altered chemistry, the red sangria is officially on deck today. I have a massive condensation dripping glass sitting right here, ready to soothe my completely frazzled nervous system.
And we are going to need every single drop of it today.
Every drop. And babes, we need to issue a heartfelt, emotionally heavy apology to all our Splitsvilla babes because, yes, we fell behind. We fell so incredibly, embarrassingly far behind.
We were basically living in a state of perpetual reality TV debt. And let me tell you, reality TV debt accrues interest at an alarming rate. It compounds daily.
I am so emotionally guilty about it. Like, I have been spiraling for days, okay? Life has just been so relentlessly chaotic lately. I mean, imagine trying to balance the day job and pretending to maintain actual human hobbies so I look well-rounded.
Which, by the way, is a full-time job in itself. The facade of being well-rounded.
It is, and managing the endless group chats, family texts, recording our commentary, and just like navigating mere survival in the modern world, catching up on the episodes literally started feeling like emotional homework. I was staring at my screen at midnight like, I cannot take another dome session tonight. I simply do not have the emotional bandwidth to watch another 20-something man from Delhi lie through his teeth.
I completely blame adulthood. Honestly, I blame the relentless, crushing grind of late-stage capitalism for completely ruining our perfectly curated reality TV viewing schedule. We are out here just trying to contribute to society, pay our taxes, be somewhat functional adults, and meanwhile, reality TV waits for absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
The drama marches on, the betrayals compound exponentially, and suddenly you look up and you are like 5 episodes deep in a Reddit thread at 3 in the morning, desperately trying to map out who dumped who, like a conspiracy theorist with red string.
It's so true. It is a full-time job keeping up with this level of mess. But babes, we are here now.
We have finally emerged from the chaos. We have done the homework. We've analyzed the tape like it's game day.
And honestly, I have to loudly, unapologetically declare this to the universe right now. Splitsvilla this year was amazing.
Oh, it was a masterpiece.
It is absolute, unadulterated, premium television gold. I cannot even handle it.
I mean, it was less of a dating show and more of a deeply unhinged sociological experiment masquerading as a romantic competition.
The sheer chaos of it all. We have to spiral about this for a second because I'm genuinely overwhelmed. Just the drama, the aggressively unstable couples, the visceral betrayals, the flirting that bordered on actual psychological warfare, and my God, the absolute towering romantic delusion of season 16.
The delusion was the true main character this season.
It genuinely makes me sit back and wonder why this specific show is so intensely addicting. Like, why do reality dating shows completely consume us on this deep emotional level? Because I am not going to lie to you, I sit there on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, and I get emotionally invested in every single relationship.
See, that is where we fundamentally diverge as viewers.
Would I want them to find love? I want the fairy tale. Even when they are screaming at each other over some ridiculous challenge involving water balloons or mud, I'm literally rooting for their souls to intertwine. I just can't help it.
And that is the fundamental difference in how we consume this media, right there. I watch this show, and I'm immediately deeply suspicious of literally everyone's motives from the very second they step out of the villa van.
You are so cynical.
Someone breathes, and I'm like, ah. A strategic exhale. They're playing the long game. They are manipulating the oxygen supply to assert dominance.
Oh my God, stop.
No, I assume every single tear is mathematically calculated.
Yeah.
Every lingering hug is just a desperate grab for screen time, and every grand declaration of love is essentially a poorly disguised pitch for a protein powder brand deal on Instagram. And yet, despite knowing all of this, I am completely paralyzed. I cannot look away. It's fascinating.
You are hopelessly cynical, but your cynicism actually makes me wonder something. Like, if we were dropped into that villa tomorrow, could we survive on a show like this?
Oh, absolutely not. Not even a fraction of a chance.
Really? You don't think you could scheme your way to the end?
No, I would be unanimously voted out in the very first Dome session. And not because I failed a challenge, but because I would be completely incapable of masking my overwhelming disdain for the entire cast.
You would just be glaring at everyone from the corner.
The moment they started forming their little fake alliances, I would sarcastically call it out to their faces. I would be
Burn.
sitting at breakfast, eating my eggs, saying, "Oh, we all know you're only pretending to be best friends so you don't vote each other out next week, right? Can we skip the fake morning hugs and just admit we're in a tactical standoff?"
They would literally despise you.
They would view me as a hostile threat to their carefully fabricated ecosystem, and they would mobilize to exile me before lunch.
You would be the ultimate reality TV villain. And honestly, I would get eliminated instantly too, but for the exact opposite reason. I would be entirely too messy. Like, I have analyzed my own psyche, and I know for a fact I'd last exactly 48 hours.
Oh, I'd give you 36 max.
Hey. No. Okay, day one, I would get completely, irreparably, emotionally attached to the most toxic guy in the villa. I'm talking about the guy with zero communication skills and a fundamentally flawed understanding of empathy. I would convince myself I could, like, fix him.
Naturally, a tale as old as time.
Right. Then, by day two, I would spectacularly lose some humiliating physical challenge where I had to, I don't know, balance a lemon on a spoon while army crawling through mud. My toxic guy would yell at me for ruining his game, and I would have a full hyperventilating breakdown right there in the dirt.
It would be a catastrophic, highly televised failure for both of us, which is exactly why we stay safely on this side of the microphone, analyzing their mistakes instead of making our own.
Exactly. We are much better suited to judging from afar with our sangria. And speaking of this side of the microphone, before we dive into the actual recap, we need to give a huge, massive shout out to our listener, Preet.
Yes, the reigning monarch of our DMs. Preet has been relentless, and honestly, we respect the hustle.
Preet slid back into our DMs, practically demanding that we continue covering Splitsvilla.
Yeah.
The energy was so intense, it wasn't a request, it was a mandate. She was like, where are the episodes? And babes, you know the drill. Ask, and we shall receive.
I will openly admit I feel slightly emotionally bullied into covering more reality TV at this exact moment.
You secretly love it, though.
Well, secretly, yeah, I absolutely love that the DMs genuinely control our schedule at this point. We have completely surrendered our free will to the Snark Squad, and it feels oddly liberating to not be in charge.
I am just obsessed with how passionate everyone gets. I love the fan energy. It's literally what keeps us going when the episodes get dense and our real lives are overwhelming.
It is highly effective peer pressure. I'll give them that.
The best kind of peer pressure. Now, I have to set the timeline for everyone listening right now. By the time this episode officially drops, it'll be Monday. So, happy Monday, babes.
Wow. The sheer, immediate emotional exhaustion in your voice just then was palpable. You sounded like someone who has already lived 3 lifetimes since Sunday night.
Because I have. Mondays just carry this heavy psychic weight, you know? But there is a massive silver lining to this particular Monday. I have a reveal.
Oh, present the reveal.
Even after 2 weeks of absolute chaos, we are still keeping up our Indian food tradition while we record.
It is the only stabilizing constant in a world of pure, unadulterated madness.
We have our full vegetarian lunch spread out in front of us right now, and the aroma is literally saving my life as we speak. We've got the rich paneer curry, the fresh garlic naan, a freezing cold mango lassi, and the most perfect fluffy white rice.
We really need to pause and seriously discuss the profound healing power of Indian food. Because when you spend hours watching conventionally attractive people ruthlessly tear each other's hearts out for a 20 lakh rupee prize pool, you experience a deficit of the soul.
You really do. You feel empty inside.
You need something that actively restores your faith in humanity and the universe. And that something is paneer. Paneer is, without question, the most elite vegetarian food ever conceived by mankind.
It's so good.
The texture, The way it absorbs the spices, I am legitimately one meal away from converting permanently to a strict vegetarian diet, just based on paneer alone.
And the garlic naan, oh my God, the garlic naan is genuinely life-changing. I am emotionally attached to this specific piece of naan I am holding right now. Like, I was holding it against my cheek earlier, just feeling comforted by its radiant warmth.
I saw that, and it was slightly concerning, but I understood the impulse.
It's like a warm, buttery hug for your deeply traumatized soul.
It is the great equalizer of human emotion. It is scientifically impossible to maintain a state of stress while actively consuming fresh garlic naan. Although, I will note the profound irony of our current situation.
What's that?
The struggle of trying to maintain any semblance of a healthy lifestyle while simultaneously emotionally inhaling complex carbohydrates as a trauma response to reality television.
Look, I'm not even pretending to try anymore. I'm just letting the carbs heal me. Let them do their work. Because, babes, we're going to need every single ounce of caloric energy for what comes next.
Yeah.
We have to finally recap the final dome bloodbath and the absolute wreckage of the Splitsvilla 16 finale.
The main event.
And my heart rate is already spiking just thinking about the sheer cruelty of it all.
Let's methodically set the scene because the atmosphere is critical to understanding the psychology of what went down here.
Yes, paint the picture.
It is the final dome session. The air in that arena is incredibly thick. The tension is basically suffocating. Sunny Leone and Karan Kundra are standing there hosting, looking absolutely flawless as always, but their energy is incredibly heavy. You look at the cast, and every single contestant looks like they are walking to the gallows.
They really did look terrified.
They all know inherently that something terrible, something game-ending, is about to happen.
Right, and you can see them all frantically looking around the set, visibly confused, whispering to each other like, wait, where is Naya? Because remember, the fundamental premise of this entire season's twist was supposed to be the two mischief makers, the sisters who were brought in specifically to wreak absolute havoc on the villa.
The agents of chaos.
But Nia is nowhere to be found. The doors open and Urfi Javed just struts in, completely and utterly alone.
She enters as the lone, unfiltered agent of chaos. And there is something deeply unsettling about her walking in solo. It signals to the contestants that the rules they thought they understood have just been rewritten in real time.
Unsettling doesn't even begin to cover it. Orphe steps up to the podium and she does not disappoint. She reveals an absolutely brutal, jaw-dropping twist. She tells the group that she is offering a direct ticket to finale, the elusive TTF, to the power matches.
A golden ticket.
A guaranteed spot at the finish line. But, and this is genuinely the sickest, most Machiavellian catch I have ever witnessed on television, to take the ticket, they have to explicitly sacrifice their romantic connection. They have to dump their partner right on the spot in front of literally everyone.
See, from a pure game design perspective, this is a masterstroke. This is the absolute pinnacle of reality TV mechanics. For the entire season, the producers have beaten the contestants over the head with the core theme, Pyaar Ya Paisa, love or money.
Right, they say it constantly.
But up until this very moment, that choice has been entirely theoretical. It's been so easy for them to say, oh, I'm here for love, because it didn't actually cost them anything to say it. Now, Urfi physically places the ticket on the table, creating a literal quantifiable price tag for their showmances. She is essentially saying, you claim you are here for love. Prove it. Show me exactly how much this relationship is worth to you against a 20 lakh payout.
Okay, let's unpack this deeply because while I totally agree it's incredibly cruel, I have to push back on the reaction in the room. I'm watching these contestants gasp and cover their mouths like they've just witnessed an actual crime. But isn't it objectively obvious that 90% of these couples are completely faking it anyway?
Oh, 100% faking it.
So why is everyone in the dome acting so viscerally shocked? Why are they clutching their invisible pearls when we all know they are playing a highly orchestrated game for cash and Instagram followers? I just didn't buy the shock.
The shock you were seeing isn't genuine surprise. It is performative outrage. Let's look at this through the lens of game theory. Every single person in that dome knows it's a game. They all know most of the relationships are strategic alliances held together by duct tape and the mutual desire for screen time.
Exactly.
But the unwritten foundational rule of the reality TV metagame is that you must pretend the love is real until the cameras stop rolling. You never break the fourth wall. Orphe's twist is so devastating because it forces them to break character. It strips away the plausible deniability. You can no longer hide behind the guise of romance. You have to publicly expose yourself as a ruthless strategist.
And break character they absolutely did, which brings us to the very first and perhaps most brutal victim of this bloodbath twist. The complete dissolution of Tane de Villiers and Sadaf Schenker.
A truly magnificent masterclass in clinical, unapologetic detachment.
I am still recovering from it. Tane is standing there. He is offered the ticket to finale, and he just takes it. He just takes it. He brutally, methodically dumps Sadaf in front of the entire cast, the hosts, the crew, and all of India.
Did he even blank?
But the thing that sent me into an absolute spiral wasn't just the dumping itself, it was the specific vocabulary he used. He doesn't just say, oh, I choose the ticket. He stands there, looks dead ahead, and claims that their relationship was, quote, dead 15 days ago.
Dead 15 days ago. That is poetry. Put that on a t-shirt. I want that framed in my office.
He publicly announces that they aren't compatible, that she fundamentally doesn't like what he likes, and then delivers the absolute kill shot. He tells her that she is emotionally exhausting to be around.
It's incredible television.
My jaw physically detached from my face and hit the floor. He annihilated her. And of course, Sadaf immediately breaks down. She goes into full DEFCON 1 victim mode. She starts wailing, claiming she always tried to make it work, that she was always the one trying to communicate, spinning this whole narrative of the neglected, heartbroken lover.
A very calculated performance.
And then, because no reality TV moment is complete without the peanut gallery chiming in, the rest of the cast erupts. Kyra jumps in, pointing fingers, calling Tane Beshram, which means completely shameless.
Which is incredibly rich, coming from Kyra, whose own strategic maneuvers have been highly questionable, but we will absolutely get to her later.
Oh, well, we will definitely get to Kyra. But then, Himanshu suddenly decides in this exact, highly stressful moment that he is the villa's resident licensed couples counselor. He steps up and starts fiercely lecturing Tane about human decency and disregarding Sadaf's fragile feelings. Like, who asked you, Himanshu?
What is truly fascinating here, and what reveals the underlying psychology of the group, is the collective outrage directed at Tane. If you really think about it, Tane simply voiced the exact reality that everyone in that room already knew to be true.
That they hated each other.
That the relationship was a strategic, mutually beneficial alliance that had completely run its course. It was a depreciating asset. Why on earth would he fake a relationship for the cameras, risking his own elimination, when he can secure a guaranteed, undisputed spot in the finale?
I mean, when you put it like that...
Tane was displaying radical, unfiltered honesty. But in the fragile ecosystem of a reality dating show, radical honesty threatens the illusion everyone else is relying on, so it is treated like a literal war crime.
That makes total sense, but babes, I have to point out a hilarious, extremely shady, purely physiological detail about this entire sequence.
Oh, I think I know what you're going to say.
I am sitting there, right, watching the screen closely as Sadaf is having this monumental, earth-shattering emotional breakdown. She is heaving. Her shoulders are shaking. Her voice is cracking in all the exact right places. She is playing the role of the discarded, heartbroken martyr to absolute perfection. But if you look closely, there are literally no tears.
I noticed the exact same thing. Not a single, solitary drop of moisture. The tear ducts were completely barren.
I was squinting at my television. I was leaning in. It was dry, heaving sadness. She is giving us a full, deeply committed Shakespearean tragedy, a monologue worthy of an award, but her eyes are bone dry. Her tear ducts are completely out of office.
On vacation.
It's astonishing. How do you muster that level of vocal grief without producing a single tiny tear?
And that right there is exactly why I vehemently defend Tane's actions. Sadaf was projecting massive red flag energy. Think about the manipulation required to force a fake, tearless breakdown simply to garner sympathy and actively turn the entire villa against the man you were supposedly partnering with.
It is a little scary when you phrase it like that.
Tane wasn't being cruel, he was being observant. He realized that dragging a dead, emotionally exhausting, highly performative pseudo-relationship all the way to the finale was a massive strategic liability. So he liquidated the asset, he cut his losses. It was a purely rational, albeit incredibly cold, business decision.
It was absolute ice water in his veins, just chilling. But babes, if you thought Tane was cold for liquidating his showmance, just wait until we talk about the girl who looked at her good boy connection, looked at the money, and chose pure, unadulterated capitalism.
Yes. Sound Arya. Sandy. The ruthless, calculating CEO of the Splitsvilla economy.
Sandy is brought up to the podium, right? And Orphe reveals she's being offered the exact same devil's bargain. She can take the ticket to finale, but she has to dump Deep Tanshu Saini, and Sandy doesn't even blink.
Not a flinch.
She takes the ticket and she dumps Deep Tanshu without a single second of hesitation or regret. Just boom, done.
It was a beautiful display of ruthless, efficient gameplay. Iconic, really.
The justification she gave was just so refreshingly blunt. She didn't try to soften the blow or pretend to cry. Sandy basically stands there and says, look, let's be real. We were just friends anyway. We aren't actually in love. I came to this show to win. I have worked entirely too hard to let a spot in the finale slip away just to protect someone's feelings, and I am taking the ticket.
The contrast between her reaction and Deep Tanshu's reaction is a fascinating study in gender dynamics and reality TV archetypes. Deep Tanshu realizes he has lost the game, so he instantly pivots to playing the ultimate nice guy martyr to win the audience's favor.
Oh, his speech was so dramatic.
He stands there looking deeply wounded and delivers this incredibly dramatic, clearly rehearsed line. He says, I would rather take 10 defeats like this than one win like that.
I rolled my eyes so hard they almost got stuck in the back of my skull. Like, okay, Deep Tanshu, we get it. You are morally superior. Go write it in your diary. And of course, because the peanut gallery never ever sleeps, Asmita immediately jumps in and loudly calls Sandy out for her quote-unquote hypocrisy.
Of course she does.
Asmita starts yelling that Sandy always preached about the importance of real connections in the villa, but then completely sold out her morals the exact second she got a chance at the finale.
Asmita's outrage is purely transparent psychological projection. She knew her own head was on the chopping block, so she was lashing out. But let's actually analyze Sandy's move objectively. I absolutely love her unapologetic approach to the game.
Ready to, honestly.
You have to remember the context. This is a highly competitive environment with a 20 lakh rupee prize pool at the end. Why on earth, in what logical universe, should Sandy give up her literal, tangible dream of being in the finale and a shot at life-changing money for a guy she has known for roughly 4 weeks? A guy she openly, honestly admits she's not even romantically dating outside of the game's mechanics.
Exactly. I have to ask you,
Yeah.
the person listening right now, put yourself in her shoes. Imagine you were standing there. Would you willingly give up a shot at 20 lakhs for a guy you've known for a month? Because Sanji said absolutely, fundamentally not, and I kind of deeply respect the hustle.
She prioritized herself.
She secured the bag. She didn't pretend to be heartbroken. She didn't force any dry-heaving fake tears like Sadaf. She just looked at him and essentially said, thanks for the friendship. It was a good run. Enjoy your economy flight back home.
It is the complete antithesis of the typical Splitsvilla narrative. Historically, dating shows condition the audience to expect women to sacrifice their individual ambitions, their agency, and their game for the sake of maintaining a romantic pairing.
That is so true. They are always expected to be the loyal ones.
Sandy completely rejected that script. She looked at the societal expectation, threw it in the trash, and chose herself. It is a triumph of rational self-interest over performative romance.
It was empowering in the messiest way possible. I loved it. But then, just as I was celebrating Sandy's absolute realism and feminist capitalism, we swung violently to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We have to talk about the absolute, unhinged, staggering romantic delusion of Ruru Thakur and Yogesh Rawat.
Ugh. I am already getting a stress headache just hearing their names. Don't even get me started on the sheer lack of logical reasoning we are about to discuss.
Here's where the episode gets really interesting, because we move from rational game theory straight into emotional madness. Ruru is called up. She is offered the exact same ticket to finale. The golden ticket is right there in front of her. She looks at Yogesh, she looks at the ticket, and she rejects the ticket.
Unbelievable.
She actively rejects a guaranteed 100% secure spot in the finale. She chooses Yogesh, declaring in front of God, Orphe, Sunny Leone, Karen Kundra, and everyone in that dome that her love is more important than the game. She literally chooses Pyaar over Paisa.
It was a catastrophic generational miscalculation of value.
But wait, it gets crazier. Because Sunny Leone, who apparently loves a grand, dramatic, romantic gesture more than life itself, decides to reward Ruru for this massive sacrifice.
Reward is a very loose term here.
Sunny tells them that because Ruru chose love, they are being granted special permission to go to the Oracle to officially see if they are an ideal match. By UT. There is a massive crushing penalty attached to this reward. Ruru doesn't just lose the finale ticket. She has to physically step down from her power throne, and D, she has to surrender exactly half of her accumulated split coins.
She voluntarily relinquished 50% of her entire net worth.
Half her wealth, gone. So they go to the Oracle, the dramatic music swells, the lights flash around the arena, and boom! The Oracle glows green. They are confirmed as an ideal match.
And babes, I have to be completely honest with you. In that exact moment, I swooned.
You didn't.
I did. I got emotionally swept away. It was such a perfect, cinematic, fairy tale aesthetic. The music swelled. They hugged tightly. She looked so happy. She chose love over money. It was beautiful to watch.
This right here is why you would only last 48 hours in the villa.
Let me have my romance. No, because I, on the other hand, was completely spiraling about the sheer financial delusion of this moment. I was practically screaming at my television screen. I wanted to shake her. Babes, you gave up actual tangible money. You gave up a guaranteed bulletproof finale spot. You gave up your position of power on the throne.
I know.
And for what? To prove a romantic point to a guy who, and spoiler alert for anyone who has ever interacted with a man who goes on reality TV, might not even be fully genuinely into you.
But he stood there and looked her in the eyes and said she was his priority. He promised.
Words are wind. Split coins are leverage. You do not trade leverage for wind. She paid a massive, exorbitant luxury tax just to get a subjective label from a glorified slot machine that spits out green lights. It was financially reckless, strategically baffling, and frankly, a terrible precedent to set for young women watching.
But the aesthetics were so romantic. I know it was financially ruinous, but my heart just wanted to believe it. Though, to your point, the immediate consequences of these choices rapidly destroyed the entire vibe of the villa. Because right after the romance, we get the most brutal, calculated part of the night, the triple dumping.
The surgical strike. This is where the bloodbath truly begins.
Because Tane and Sandy logically chose the ticket to finale, they are now sitting pretty on the power throne. And the hosts give them absolute, unchecked power. They don't just get to dump one person. They don't get to dump two. They are handed the power to dump 3 people in one fell swoop.
It was a targeted decimation of the villa's remaining population.
They ruthlessly, without a single micro-expression of hesitation, axe Mohit Magotra, Asmita Adhikari, and Akanksha Chaudhary. It happened so fast it literally gave me whiplash.
Deficient.
And because it's Splitsvilla, the humiliation doesn't end with the dumping. The dumped contestants can't just pack their bags and leave quietly. The rules dictate they have to empty their pockets.
Ah, yes, the forced redistribution of wealth. A fascinating economic micro-study.
Akanksha, on her way out, gives her 30,000 split coins to Suzanne. But the absolute craziest, most unhinged part of this wealth transfer was Mohit. In this wild, confusing twist of emotional guilt, Mohit takes his 25,000 coins and gives them to, wait for it, Sadaf.
Which is bad.
He hands them over and says it's to apologize for flipping on her earlier in the season when he chose Anushka.
It was pure, unfiltered guilt money. He was paying reparations to clear his conscience before getting in the van. But if we pull back and connect this specific moment to the bigger picture of the game's design, the handling of the split coin economy in this episode was absolutely, fundamentally broken.
How so?
Because right after this emotional exchange of funds, Orpheus steps up and drops her final, game-altering gift. She reveals that anyone who had the foresight to save their power cards up to this exact point gets an immediate injection of 50,000 split coins.
50,000 just materialized out of thin air and handed out.
It is absolute economic madness. Let's break down how this works. The producers essentially induced rapid hyperinflation right before the grand finale. By dumping that massive volume of fiat currency into the closed ecosystem of the game at the 11th hour, they fundamentally crashed the value of a single split coin.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of it like that.
It's like quantitative easing gone horribly wrong. Suddenly, everyone left standing is incredibly rich. Leverage is destroyed because everyone has buying power. It was a bizarre, poorly calculated economic stimulus package that completely leveled the playing field for the surviving contestants, rendering previous strategic saving utterly pointless.
It was so chaotic. It felt like the rules were just disintegrating in real time, which honestly perfectly sets up the tension for the grand finale showdown.
The final, inevitable battle, the culmination of all this madness.
We finally arrive at our final 4 couples. We have Kushal, who we all affectionately know as Gulu and Kerda. We have our deeply delusional romantics, Yugesh and Ruru. We have Saurabh and Niharika. And rounding out the pack, our cold, calculating business partners, Tane and Sandy.
The tension in that final arena was palpable. You could feel the desperation radiating through the screen.
They battle it out through the final challenges, and the ultimate winners, the couple taking home the title and the massive 20 lakh prize, are Gulu and Kara.
The ultimate triumph of the Pachara gang.
And let me tell you, the internet went absolutely violently wild. I was scrolling the Reddit threads while the finale was airing, and it was a complete mess. Everyone was screaming about production favoritism.
Naturally, the conspiracy theories always come out.
Viewers were pulling up receipts, pointing out that almost every single time Gulu and Kyra were in actual danger of elimination this season, there magically happened to be a convenient, unprecedented twist that just so happened to save them. The entire Snark squad online was fiercely debating whether they actually deserved the win based on merit, or if the entire architecture of the game was rigged from the start to protect the Brotherhood alliance.
And this raises a genuinely important structural question about the integrity of the game mechanics themselves. If you look at how Gulu and Kyra operated, they essentially functioned as a cartel. They formed a voting bloc. When platonic tribal alliances dictate the outcome of the game more heavily than the actual required romantic connections, we have to ask ourselves, is this really a dating show anymore? Or is it just a political simulation?
But babes, the actual physical competition in the finale was nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, compared to the explosive, earth-shattering drama that happened off the field during the reunion segment. I need to drop the ultimate messy gossip that completely broke my brain.
Ah, the real-world fallout, where the carefully constructed reality TV facades finally crumble under the weight of actual human behavior.
It was pure, unadulterated chaos. They are all gathered together, and Suzanne gets the floor. And Suzanne does not mince words. She absolutely drops a nuclear bomb on the entire room. She looks dead at Yogesh and accuses him of cheating on Ruru with Akanksha in Delhi.
Oh,
After the show wrapped, she claims they were practically living together, spending all their time together, while Ruru was completely in the dark.
the ultimate inevitable betrayal.
And then the moment that made me physically scream at my television, Yogesh on national television, standing in front of Ruru, publicly admits that he did develop feelings for Akaksha. He just stands there, shrugs, and says he realized his true feelings once they were outside the pressure cooker of the villa.
He realized his true feelings for Akanksha after Ruru voluntarily gave up half her net worth, stepped down from her throne, and rejected a guaranteed finale spot just to prove her loyalty to him. The timing is spectacularly convenient.
I had a full, hyperventilating emotional meltdown on Ruru's behalf. I was physically pacing my living room, ranting to my cat. She gave up the ticket to finale for him. She stepped off her throne for him. She lost half her coins. She threw away her entire game for this man. And he goes back to Delhi, gets off the plane, and immediately catches feelings for Akanksha.
Shocking. Just shocking.
Ruru was sitting there, and you could see her visually shatter. Her face just crumbled into pieces. And then, to make it infinitely worse, Akanksha immediately breaks down crying, trying to make herself the victim, saying people are just jealous of her Instagram followers and trying to assassinate her character.
I am not going to lie, I was cackling. I am genuinely sorry for Ruru's pain, but I was absolutely cackling at the sheer mathematical predictability of it all.
How could you laugh?
Because it is the absolute textbook peer-reviewed definition of reality TV men. They're a specific breed. They will look you dead in the eye, promise you the moon and the stars, happily let you sacrifice your entire game and your dignity to validate their ego, and they conveniently discover their true feelings for the exact girl they told you not to worry about, the literal second the cameras are turned off and the prize money is distributed. It's an unbroken pattern of behavior.
It is sick. It is genuinely psychologically twisted. I need a moment to recover from reliving that. Let me take a massive sip of this sangria. Okay, deep breath. We need to pivot slightly because I have so many feelings coursing through my veins right now, and I need to categorize them before I spontaneously explode. Which actually brings up a massive debate we need to settle right now in our first segment.
Yes, segment one. Let's get into it.
If we are talking about unhinged behavior, we have to determine who is the biggest walking red flag of this finale.
A highly contested title, but a necessary sociological evaluation. Let's examine the evidence.
I will present the primary contenders for this absolute honor. Contender number one, Yogesh. The case against him is strong. He let Ruru give up literally everything for him. He played the role of the devoted, enamored partner to perfection, soaking up the glory of being chosen over wealth, only to casually, brutally admit he has feelings for Akanksha during the grand finale in front of the entire country.
The manipulation is glaring. A very strong case.
Contender number two, Tane. For his cold, clinical, borderline sociopathic dumping of Sadaf. Telling a woman we were dead 15 days ago on national television, publicly humiliating her, and snatching the ticket to finale without a single microscopic flinch of human empathy.
Okay, I will take the floor first on this debate, if you don't mind.
Be my guest. I am ready to hear your deeply analytical, entirely unemotional take.
I'm going to throw a massive curveball into this courtroom. The biggest walking red flag in this entire scenario is neither of the men. It is not Yogesh, and it is certainly not Tane. The biggest red flag is Sadaf.
I am sorry, what, are we watching the same show?
Hear me out. Let's look at the data. Tane was cold, yes. His delivery was brutal, but he was fundamentally honest. He assessed a failing, highly performative situation, and he ended it. He did not string her along. Yogesh is an absolute mess, yes, but he is a deeply predictable mess. His behavior tracks perfectly with standard reality TV male ego-stroking. Sadaf, however, actively weaponized victimhood as a strategy.
But she was heartbroken.
She stood in that dome, aggressively squeezing her eyes shut, producing zero actual tears, and tried to emotionally manipulate the entire villa and the viewing audience into villainizing Tane for a mutual lack of connection, forcing a fake, dry-heaving breakdown to garner public sympathy while simultaneously accepting 25,000 coins in reparations from another dumped contestant. That is terrifying, highly calculated red flag energy. That is psychological manipulation on a whole different level.
I aggressively, violently disagree with you. I am literally slapping my hand on the table. Yogesh is the ultimate, undisputed red flag. Think about the deep, lingering psychological damage he just inflicted on Ruru.
He's just a standard guy who wanted his ego fed.
He let her stand at that oracle, looking like a literal fairy tale princess, declaring her undying, selfless love for him. He knew exactly what she sacrificed. He knew the mathematical cost of her decision. He bathed in the glory of being chosen over 20 lakh rupees. It stroked his ego. And then he goes to Delhi and just hangs out with a Kanksha. That is a level of emotional manipulation and narcissism that should be actively studied in behavioral science labs. He is a walking, talking hazard sign. He let her destroy her own life for his temporary validation.
I will grant you that he is weak. He likes the ego boost, and he lacks the spine to be on it when it matters. But I stand by my assessment. Sadaf's dry-heaving crying will haunt my nightmares long after Yogesh's predictable cheating is forgotten.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one, because I am genuinely ready to fight you over this. Let's move on to segment 2 before I throw my sangria, which leads us to a broader question about navigating this kind of chaos. We joked about it earlier, but let's really deeply spiral about how long we would realistically last in that villa if we were cast tomorrow. Could we survive Splitsvilla?
We touched on our inevitable downfalls, but let's map out the exact trajectory of our failure.
I have deeply analyzed my own psyche, and I have come to a firm, unshakable conclusion. I would last exactly 48 hours. Let me walk you through my demise. Day 1, the sun is shining, the pool looks great, and I would immediately be charmed by someone who is clearly, scientifically proven to be terrible for me. I'm talking about the guy with the lowest emotional intelligence in the room, the one who talks over everyone and refuses to wear sunscreen.
A classic archetype.
I would decide against all logic that I have the unique capability to fix him. By day 2, production would force us into some humiliating challenge involving greased-up obstacle courses or blindfolds. I would fail completely and utterly, my toxic guy would scream at me for losing the task and jeopardizing his screen time, and I would be found by a camera crew sobbing uncontrollably behind a potted plant in the villa garden. I would be eliminated by sunset, entirely by my own doing.
It's a very vivid, highly plausible, and deeply tragic scenario. I can picture the exact potted plant.
What about your exact timeline of destruction?
As I said, my demise would be swift, but it would be political rather than emotional. I would be voted out in the very first dome session. Not because I lost a physical challenge, I would simply refuse to participate in anything involving Greece, but because I would be fundamentally incapable of masking my disdain for the social dynamics.
You wouldn't even try to hide it.
The minute they start forming their little Baichara Brotherhood alliances, treating the dating show like a mob syndicate, I would sarcastically dismantle their entire structure. I'd sit at breakfast, look the alpha male in the eye, and say, "We all know you're only pretending to call him your brother so he doesn't vote you out next week. Can we please skip the fake morning hugs and admit we're in a hostage situation?"
They would be so mad.
They would view me as a hostile, destabilizing threat to their fabricated ecosystem, and they would unilaterally mobilize the entire house to dump me immediately.
You would be the villain of the very first episode. They would play the dark, ominous music every time you walked into the kitchen.
And I would wear the title with immense pride. Better a villain than a pawn.
Okay, let's look at the people who actually survived and evaluate their mental state for segment 3. We need to debate which relationship was running purely on vibes, chaos, and a complete clinical detachment from reality. I am talking about the most delusional couple. Option A, Yogesh and Ruru. Option B, Tane and Sadaf.
This is actually a very tough, nuanced debate. Both couples exhibit staggering levels of cognitive dissonance.
I am vehemently arguing for Yogesh and Ruru. The delusion in that relationship peaked, it absolutely undeniably peaked, when Ruru sacrificed her game at the Dome. She gave up her power, her hard-earned money, and her golden ticket for a guy who was clearly, visibly, emotionally invested elsewhere.
True.
But the delusion isn't just that she made the sacrifice. The true delusion is that she genuinely thought it was a victory. She thought she won the moral high ground. She thought she was starring in a romance novel, while Yogesh was already mentally checking his flight itinerary back to Delhi to see Akanksha. It's a deeply tragic, entirely one-sided delusion.
I see your tragic romantic delusion, and I raise you the cold, strategic delusion of Tane and Sadaf. I argue they were infinitely more delusional for genuinely thinking they could successfully fake a dead relationship all the way to a 20 lakh payout without the reality TV producers stepping in and forcing their hand.
That is a good point.
They essentially sat in their room for 15 days, barely speaking, radiating mutual contempt, not vibing on any conceivable level, and thought to themselves, yeah, we are totally tricking the audience, the hosts, and the production team into thinking we are the ultimate power couple. They completely arrogantly underestimated the sheer cruelty and observation skills of reality TV producers. The delusion that you can outsmart the house, that you can beat the casino at its own game, is the greatest delusion of all.
That is actually a really fair point. They thought they were playing 4D chess, moving their little pieces around, and then Orphe just walked in and violently flipped the entire board over.
Precisely. They forgot who was actually in control of the game.
Which brings up a very important necessity and our final segment. Based on everything we have witnessed this season, all the heartbreak, the cheating, the terrible financial decisions, we need to create some ridiculous mandatory reality TV dating rules. If we were ever, by some curse of the universe, forced to join a reality dating show, these are the rules we must abide by.
Rule number 1, and this should be legally binding, tattooed on the inside of every single contestant's eyelids before they're allowed on set, secure the bag before the hook.
Yes.
Never, under any circumstances, no matter how good his hair is, give up a guaranteed ticket to finale for someone who lives in another time zone. Think about the basic economics. If he really genuinely loves you, his love will not magically evaporate just because you secured your own spot in the finale.
Yeah.
He will be waiting for you very happily after you cash that 20 lakh rupee check.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Everyone write that down right now. Okay, rule number 2. I am officially dubbing this the Sadaf rule. If you are going to cry for the cameras, if you are going to put on a grand theatrical performance of heartbreak to manipulate the vote, you must, by law, produce actual visible tears.
Absolutely required.
You must have moisture on your face. Hydrate aggressively before the Dome session. Keep a bottle of Visine eye drops hidden in your pocket. Think about dead puppies. Do whatever it takes. But dry heaving, moistureless sadness will not be tolerated on my television screen. It is bad acting.
It's honestly just insulting to the audience's intelligence.
Yeah.
We are giving you our time. At least give us some sodium chloride. What is rule number 3?
You take rule number 3 because this is your biggest pet peeve.
Rule number 3, absolutely no Vichara alliances. We are here to date, to flirt disastrously, to fall in love, and to fight over incredibly petty alcohol-fueled misunderstandings. We are not here to form a pseudo-frat house. If I see a group of bros making secret handshakes in the corner and voting as a unified bloc to protect their boys instead of following their romantic connections, I am immediately calling production to intervene. It completely ruins the organic, romantic chaos that the genre relies on.
It really does. It turns what is supposed to be a messy dating show into a cheap mafia movie. No Bichara allowed.
I feel like through intense psychoanalysis and a lot of garlic naan, we have successfully solved reality TV today.
We have certainly diagnosed its underlying terminal illnesses. Curing them is another matter entirely. Well, babes, we have survived the finale chaos. We made it to the other side. My sangria glass is completely empty, my heart is full of judgment, and my mind is still reeling from the absolute, unfathomable audacity of these men. I really want to thank the Snark Squad for hanging out with us, for being patient while we caught up on the episodes, and for spiraling with us today.
It is always a distinct pleasure to dissect the flaws of the human condition with you all.
But before we officially log off and go back to our chaotic lives, I have some very important questions for you, our lovely babes listening right now. Hit us up in the comments or slide into the DMs. Number one, who was your absolute favorite Splitsvilla couple this season and why? Number two, and this is perhaps the most important question of the day, is garlic naan officially one of the greatest culinary creations in human history?
That is technically a yes or no question, but I will warn you, there's only one scientifically correct answer.
Number three, do you honestly, deep down, think you could survive a reality dating show, or would you crumble in the dome under the pressure exactly like I would? And number four, which cast member from this entire season do you trust the absolute least? And why is it Yogesh?
You are blatantly leading the witness with that last one, but given the evidence presented today, I will allow it.
Remind your messiest bestie to listen to this chat, and please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can keep making this content for you.
And as we sign off, I will leave you with one final, deeply unsettling thought to mull over as you go about your week. If Gulu and Kyra won the entire season, specifically because they were the most efficient at forming platonic alliances and leveraging the Bichara cartel vote, does that fundamentally mean Splitsvilla is no longer a dating show at all, but just a version of Survivor with vastly better outfits and slightly more making out?
Oh my god, my brain just broke all over again. That is terrifyingly accurate. Stay messy, stay delusional, and we will see you on the snark side.